You are watching the Indian Weekender. Today we delve into one of the most burning and highly emotional issues in front of the Kiwi Indian community here in New Zealand. The issue is about the movie Kashmir Files. As we all know, that Kashmir Files movie is currently with Chief Censor, who is reviewing the decision of releasing the movie here in New Zealand after some concerns were raised with him. So a lot has been written, a lot has been said on this debate, continues to be said. So today I am taking a plunge into all the debates that has been stirred by this movie, both in New Zealand and beyond, in India and the wider Indian global diaspora. Without looking into every aspect of this debate, it will be slightly incomplete. For the issue of fairness, we will be touching upon the arguments on both sides of the debate. So if you want to be enlightened how this debate is unfolding, I would request you to watch till end. We won't be formulating any opinion. We will be leaving for our readers and viewers to make their own independent opinions. So broadly, we see this issue, or I see this issue, in three main debates that has been touched by this movie. The first is obviously in New Zealand, related to freedom of expression, freedom of watching this movie, and its accompanying facts, that is within New Zealand. But beyond New Zealand, this movie is also stirring some of the very pressing issues within India and the broader Indian global diaspora. The other two issues we will be dealing with, but let's first talk about the issue in New Zealand. The movie, as we all know, depicts a very painful plight of hundreds of thousands of Kashmiri Hindus and Kashmiri Pandits who have to flee their home, ancestral home in Kashmir, which stands to be the only Muslim majority state in India, due to the beginning of a foreign sponsored insurgency in late 1980s and early 1990s. The fact check on the movie is that this is definitely a reality, a fact, well documented. There is no imaginary portrayal of the pain, of the plight of Kashmiri Hindus. The release of the movie has certainly reignited the wounds and the scars of that Kashmiri Hindu community, not only in India but globally, and they are finding a sense of closure because of this movie. However, equally important, the timing of the release of the movie, both in India and particularly here in New Zealand as well, has raised some concerns. The fear that what it could eventually result into, maybe a social discord or a sense of polarization. So talking about New Zealand, as we all know that currently Chief Censor is reviewing the decision on the release of this movie. A lot has happened in last few days. Indian envoy Mr. Muktesh Pardesi has already issued a press statement requesting censor to allow the freedom of expression. That was in the line of many political opposition leaders from New Zealand political parties, from National Party, ACT Party, who have raised concerns and who have requested or who have called out the Chief Censor to extol the New Zealand value of freedom of expression, despite the level of uncomfort in the content that is within the movie. Chief Censor has already given his statement that previously movie was released, classified as R16, and being a crown entity, it has a mode of operation. And if any member of community comes to Chief Censor with their concerns about any content within a movie, then the Chief Censor body is also obliged to have a relook on the content of the movie. So that's what Chief Censor has said. that they are reviewing, and it doesn't matter, they don't know yet how they are going to opine or how they are going to classify the movie. It could possibly remain same, or it could possibly alter. Following that, there has been a quick Zoom meeting within broad Kiwi Indian community organization and leaders yesterday, including the Kashmiri Hindus and Kashmiri Pandits, who have been living in the country for around 3 to 4 decades, 3 decades at least. And all concerns were raised. It was heard in that community meeting that what Kashmiri Hindus are seeking is just a sense of closure from this movie. And they have assured the broader New Zealand authorities, other communities, including the Muslim communities, that particularly Muslim communities here in New Zealand, that there is no sense of anger directed towards them. They have also said that Kashmiri Hindus and Hindu community of New Zealand were the first community who have reached out to our fellow Muslim communities when this unfortunate Christchurch terror attack took a couple of years ago. So it was reported that the community group would be writing to Chief Censor, just like other groups as well. And now the matter is in the domain of Chief Censor. Hopefully we can hear from them by the end of the week. This discussion will be incomplete without having a look on the 2 other debates that this movie has touched upon, that is broadly related to India and the Indian global diaspora all around the world. The first is the issue of nepotism, the charge of nepotism within Bollywood. And the second is the charge of convoluted linkages between India's erstwhile intelligentsia and the previous political elites for being disingenuous in their craft, in their intellectual inquiry, and compromising national interests of India as well. This is a highly emotive debate that is playing out largely on social media landscape of Indians, be it they are India or they are in New Zealand or they are world around. So the stupendous success, the box office success of this movie Kashmiri Files has given the much needed ammunition to movie's producer and director Vivek Agnihotri, who had till now a less than stellar success in Bollywood, to freshly lay a charge of nepotism within Bollywood's bigwig. Those who are aware of this debate, the intense debate that plays out on India's social media landscape, would know that the traditionally successful Bollywood players, elite players, if I may say, including stars, actors, leading producers, leading directors, who have reaped a lot of love from Bollywood watchers, Indian moviegoers, and who have accumulated a lot of influence and clout within the industry. In recent years, in last few years, there has been repeated charge from those who are less than stellar successful in that Bollywood industry, that has been supported adequately on the social media, including by the trolls, saying that those Bollywood elite players have monopolized on the ways to be successful in the Bollywood industry. Vivek Agnihotri, the producer of this movie, who till now had a less than stellar success, has been emboldened and has raised this question again, which has found merit within India's social media landscape. The other debate, which is the largest, or which is the larger ongoing debate within India's social media landscape, is related to the change of power in India that happened after 2014, when the current political regime successfully won elections in the most free and fair democratic elections, and had since then maintained successive or overwhelming electoral success in different elections in India. The new political elites, as expected as anywhere else in the world, have brought in their own supporters in every realm of society, be it intelligentsia, be it academics, be it Bollywood. And those new elites are consistently raising question mark on the credibility of the previous intellectual elites. When I say previous intellectual elites, they are largely understood to be the players who were patronized by previous ruling regimes in India, and they are believed to have a so-called liberal, progressive, secular outlook, which the current elites do not agree, do not subscribe. That's a very highly emotive discussion that is constantly happening in the backside, in the back burners in India. And a movie like Kashmir Files reignite that debate. It is being construed, or it is being argued, that there was a deliberate agenda from the previous Bollywood and intelligentsia elites to not portray the real painful stories of Kashmiri Hindus. In absence of a strong and viable political opposition in India, the previous intelligentsia with the so-called progressive, liberal, secular outlook has largely been discredited, ridiculed on the broader social media landscape. That contest is continuously happening on India's social media landscape. But the fact is that without a viable, strong political opposition, obviously that thought process is currently under pressure. However, that particular thought process, that particular intelligentsia who are not, or who are trying to ignore the massive Bollywood success of this movie, yet they have not been able to articulate their point of disagreement or dissent with this movie, which can be unanimously portrayed in a way like this. Apparently, their disapproval or their lack of support for this movie accentuates from the fact that this movie, Kashmir Files, is accentuating an artificial sense of victimization within the Hindu community and exacerbating the level of polarization in India by showing a real pain, a real story of Kashmiri Hindus who are a small minority within an otherwise broad majority of Hindus within India. That's an argument. That's the argument on the opposition side. It's our duty to present that argument to you so that you can make up your mind. For now, we can safely say that this movie, Kashmir Files, has crossed many barriers. The movie has been received very warmly by the broader global Indian diaspora, by the Indians everywhere. But those who are on the other side of the argument, they may agree with the creative excellence of the movie, but they are doubting the intent of the movie maker and the timing of the release of the movie, which is increasing and exacerbating the polarization within the broader Indian community. Regardless what is the future of Indian society, how it unfolds, which remains to be seen, for now we can safely conclude that this movie Kashmir Files is rubbing upon three major debates here including one in New Zealand and two rest in India. And we can safely conclude that it is definitely based on facts, fact of pain experienced by Kashmiri Hindus due to the advent of insurgencies. Regardless of what is in store for this movie here in New Zealand and how it affects the Indian global diaspora and Indians all around the world, it is safe to say that the release of this movie and the ensuing super success on box office has definitely stirred on these three main debates. We will stop short of making any opinion, and we will encourage you, our readers, our viewers, to make their own opinion on this important issue in front of the Kiwi Indian community. Thank you very much.